Hi, you alright? Yeah, thank you. Do you know how much these face masks are? Oh, right, okay. Seems pretty good. This is always here, isn't it?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Okay, pretty good. Is the car's okay there, isn't it, where I parked? Yeah, thanks. Hi, how you doing? You right? Yeah, good. Hi. Yeah, it's very nice. Yeah, thank you. Cheers.
Just trying to look into our systems to see what the available stock is in the UK. Yeah, so I mean at the moment there are 35 EQCs in the country available within the space of 14 days.
Okay, that's pretty good.
Yeah, so I mean starting from the entry level model at 72.3 and ranging all the way up to the highest possible spec, which like we said tips just over the 80 mark. But it's all going to be dependent. I mean, the AMG line, in my opinion, is the most popular for around 75 because that's going to give you the sports styling of the AMG body kit, the heated seats, the navigation, cruise control, and the ambient lighting that we mentioned as well on the interior. It's just whether you're wanting.
This is the AMG version, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's the AMG line, so it's very similar to like BMW did the M Sport range. You get the styling of the sports cars, but in this case, obviously, it's an EQC, so it doesn't have an engine. But in our other cars, they still have like your standard petrol or diesel engines. But it just depends on, obviously, when we're going up to the highest trim levels, things like sunroofs, memory seats, which obviously we can get if they're essential items for you. If not, then even the model like the AMG is going to have most of the things that people look for.
Do you know, I was going to mention, like, when I was driving, the camera came on at the front.
What traffic lights?
Yeah.
So it's essentially one of the features that Mercedes-Benz have. So when you stop at a traffic light, sometimes you can't actually see the lights. You'll have to sort of duck down and things
Oh,
like that.
right, okay,
So what
yeah.
it's actually doing is displaying it on the screen so that when the lights turn green, it's easier for you to just see it there and then in front of you. It's just a little handy feature and there's multiple things like that.
And has it got that feature where, like, if you're another car comes close to you, and it sort of gives you a
Yeah. So it's got collision assist, pedestrian detection, lane keep assist as well. So obviously if you start steering out of lane on a motorway, it'll give you a jolt and sort of steer you back into lane.
So collision assist, basically, it will tell you a few seconds before if you're too close, won't it?
So if you are essentially tailgating a car, and I'm right behind this one and we're moving, you'll have a little red triangle pop up on the dash and it will constantly stay there. It's essentially saying you're too close to the car in front, so if that car brakes, the system's going to automatically brake for you. Collision assist is essentially designed to limit the damage to the car in the event of a crash.
Oh,
so
right.
obviously if that car stops, the system's going to read that using radar technology and it's going to slam on the brakes by the time obviously the human body can only react in so many seconds, whereas the system can read it on a millisecond basis. So that's essentially what it is.
Oh, okay, yeah, sure.
But yeah, that's a standard feature in all of our cars. Same with the lane keep assist. So it's they're sort of grade 5 in terms of the safety quality and the alarms, etc. And now you can even use an app called Mercedes Me and you can
I
monitor.
was looking through that, and it said because I connected my phone,
Yep.
and it was pretty good sound.
The Mercedes system is
Yeah,
actually
and
quite.
then I was obviously looking because I think I saw something like Comfort Zone or something, and I was trying to figure out what that was. I wasn't 100% sure.
So comfort is things like the ambient lighting, lumbar support, and also the heated seats. And then from that point, what you can do is using the Mercedes Me app. Let's say, for instance, if I get up for work at 7 o'clock, I can set on the app for my car to turn itself on, heat up the seats, etc. at 7:15. So then by the time I get into the car, it's all nice and warm and defrosted. Same tracking the car's location anywhere in the world. It's got a thing called geofencing. I don't know if you've heard of it before. What it essentially means is that satellites will read where my car is on a centimetre basis. And let's say I'm on holiday in the other half of the world and my car moves by half a metre, not only will I be notified, so will the authorities straight away.
And you've got to pay for that extra feature.
For the first year, it's standard. If you keep having your car serviced, then we obviously maintain warranties and things like that. And then after the 12-month basis, you can continue the geofencing and things like that. It's not. I think it's only about £6 or £7 a month. Most of the things like live traffic for the sat nav, the warranty is 3 years. The battery is 8 years, so you're protected from that front as well.
So this, for the sat nav, after 3 years, you've got to pay for the service.
So you will still have sat nav, but there's a feature called live traffic.
Yeah.
What that essentially does is
I'll tell you where the traffic is. Same as TomTom.
yeah. But what I will say is anything from AMG line and above should have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. So
Okay.
if you're using Google Maps, it will show you the traffic anyway.
Okay. Yeah. Sure. So this one's got Apple Play on as well, isn't it?
Yeah. So AMG lines will. I will say it has to be a wired connection, so like USB-C. They're not wireless quite yet in the EQC. But as long as you've got a wired connection from your phone to
So it's Type C then, isn't it?
yeah,
Yeah.
it is all of them. That's the way they're all moving over.
And in terms of like service, how many is it? 10,000 or?
12 or once per year. A service plan on those, I believe, is £23 per month. So it tips just over the £260 per year mark. And that's for both minor and major services. So that's all your maintenance taken care of.
Okay. All right. Anything else that
I mean, the only other thing is obviously how you look to fund the vehicle, because you mentioned obviously the
salary sacrifice? Yeah.
So have they mentioned what sort of price bracket that we're looking to be within? Certain companies, they'll structure it in different ways.
They're quite. I think they're pretty much. I mean, they're quite open. They're not like. It's not any restrictions or anything. Depends on obviously what you can afford.
Of course.
So.
Because would it be a case of, do you know whether it's them that would contact us directly and purchase the vehicle, or would they do it for yourself and the car gets registered in your name? Have they mentioned how it would work?
I think it's if I provide the details to them.
Yep.
I think that and then they'll get in contact and then they'll link it to the pay.
Because what I can do, I can structure a finance quote and email it over just as a reference, so you've got something to work with.
Yeah,
them.
sure.
Do you have a preferred colour at all?
I didn't look at the colour. What would you sort of recommend on the colours?
Well, you can see in the showroom, other than yellow, we're quite neutral. Mercedes don't tend to dabble much with their colours. I will say, in terms of the AMG lines, it does typically tend to be your whites, blacks, silvers, and greys. The occasional blue.
So they don't do the yellow, do they? No.
In AMG, so that's a 305 brake horsepower A class. So
Oh, yeah.
AMG, you can get the yellow. But with the EQC, we're looking at the greys, whites, silvers, and blacks, and there is also the blue option, and also there is a red as well.
Red or blue probably. What blue is it? Is it like midnight blue or what is that?
Very similar to the SL, so just outside of our showroom, you see the two-seater Roadster.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Very similar to that model.
And the red is.
Red.
Which car do you drive then? Do you drive? Have you got
C-Class.
C-Class, yeah. Mercedes looks after you guys, or?
Luckily, yeah. I've been in Mercedes for about 5 or 6 years now. I will say we do get spoiled with our company cars. But we get a chance to drive all of them. see the Patagonia red. It's not just a solid red; it is a metallic sort of deep red.
Okay, yeah, probably go for the blue then. Blue, yeah, blue.
That's what I'll do. I'll structure it. What sort of deposit would you look to put into the vehicle? Bearing in mind, realistically, you don't actually have to put anything in.
If I put, for example, 20 down, then that would reduce my monthly contribution via.
Massively, yeah.
Yeah.
So for every £1,000, typically it's about £22 per month. So let's just say for.
You got to do the calculations where you're going to get whether it's more benefit to put more deposit down, or whether I'm going to get a deposit, like whether I'm like saving on the tax benefits.
Yeah, so it's a balancing act, you're right. So this is, obviously you've got different forms of finance. The majority of the UK will be on what we call agility or PCP.
Yeah.
So just an example, so with this contract here, it would be a £20,000 deposit, 48 monthly instalments of 701, followed by a optional purchase payment of 31.5. Now when you reach the end of the 4 years, you would be presented with the options of paying the 31.5 and keeping that exact vehicle.
Yeah.
You can give the car back, in which case you've leased the car for 4 years. Or what we would do is we would value that vehicle at the 4-year mark, and let's say for argument's sake the car's worth £40,000, we would clear the 31.5, which is your outstanding balance,
Yeah.
and anything else would go back to yourself, either as cash or as deposit towards the next car.
Yeah.
So you've got multiple options.
Do you know what? Like after 4 years, what do you reckon the valuation probably be about 40 something?
It's difficult purely on the basis of Mercedes try to get the optional purchase payments as accurate as possible, but obviously you and I both know that predicting what the market's going to be like in 4 years' time. I will say everyone is moving towards electric and hybrid, so you can only anticipate that the market should get stronger. So I would take the 31.5 with a pinch of salt. The idea behind a PCP is that because it is so difficult to predict, if the car's worth less than that in 4 years' time, you give the car back, you don't suffer that penalty.
Yeah,
It's a
sure.
Mercedes-Benz problem. So it's almost like an insurance product in some ways that you're protecting your finances. Because obviously, if you and I, if you were to come in and purchase this car for 75 cash
Yeah.
in 4 years' time, then it's a guessing game, not right.
Yeah, yeah. How much is it worth? Yeah.
Exactly.
In terms of like the battery, like what's the average sort of life, like sort of?
Again, it's difficult because the car's been out since 2019, so it's been out for about 4.5 years now. And myself personally, touch wood, I've never had any customers have issues with the batteries.
Yeah, sure.
It could potentially, I mean, naturally the batteries will degrade over time. But I will say we're not too familiar with how much that would be, because if we're looking at having the car for 4, 5, 6, I mean, you could technically keep it for 8 years and still be under that warranty.
Then after 4 years, once you say like the value, your outstanding is X, the value is X, take off the difference, and that can go towards a new car then, can't it?
Correct.
Yeah.
So, like we said, if the car was worth 40, we clear the 31.5, the remaining 8.5, you can either have back as cash or would go towards the next car's deposit. So, obviously, the electric market, like we said, in 4 years' time, the car should stand up quite well. And the equity would go towards a new vehicle, but if you decided, you know what, I just want to take the money back, I want to put into something else, you can do
Yeah,
that.
sure. Was the what did you say? P something?
PCP,
PCP. That's it. What does that?
personal contract plan.
Oh yeah. Okay. Personal.
You've also got a HB as well, which is a hire purchase. And what that would do is that is just your traditional finance with no balloon payment. So you'd pay X amount of instalments, and then once the final payment is made, you own the car outright. You've paid the.
Oh yeah, sure. Okay. And then like with the PCP, is it limited number of mileages or?
So with this particular contract, it's based on 10,000 miles per year. I will say you can extend it up to 24,000 miles per year, but just bear in mind, obviously, the more miles you're doing, the more that it's going to bring that final payment down, because the car will have more miles.
Yeah, sure. Then, for example, if I did it on the 4 year and then first year I did 8,
Yep.
can I bring over like the 2 like?
They don't count it on a year-by-year basis.
You don't. It's not year by year. So you basically you can have 40,000.
At the end of the 4 years.
Over 4 years.
I will say as well the penalty, so we're looking at 22 pence per mile. So even if you to go over like 100 or so miles, you're looking at about £22. It's not a big deal.
Yeah, it's not a big deal. Yeah. Okay. Let me see. Any other sort of anything else I should know about this car?
I mean, the only other differences are going through the different specs. So like we said, you've got 3 main trim levels.
The other thing I was going to mention, I'm looking at a Tesla as well.
Yep.
So I'll just be honest with you.
Yeah, naturally.
Just want to sort of see what the main difference is. I think it's the S model I'm looking at.
If I'm honest, it is the layout of the interiors.
Yeah.
I won't say that Mercedes is better, but I will say is that Tesla and Mercedes focus on very different things.
Yeah.
Tesla were essentially the first company to go out there and make an electric car. I will say in terms of their ranges and things like that, some of their models do have greater ranges than other cars.
Yeah, sure.
The quality of the interior from the Teslas that I've driven and that I've taken in part exchange, I find them very simplistic. Now for some customers, they like that, and that's perfectly fine. But I will say that Mercedes focus on that luxury experience, having a car that feels like a premium car.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's the real difference between them. As we can see, like we said, so things like Apple CarPlay, electrically folding mirrors, reverse camera, front and rear sensors, navigation, they're all standard. And then when we jump up to what we call the premium, you can see you've got a different choice of alloy wheel. It does chump by about £4,500, but then in that package we're also getting some slightly larger wheels at 22s as opposed to 21s.
Yeah.
The electric sliding sunroof, and then we've also got the addition of things like air balance, so that's fragrances that you can have inside the car.
See these apps, they're all standard, aren't they?
On the CarPlay.
Yeah. So then you just log in with your details and you've got access to like Spotify and all that sort of stuff.
So all you would literally do is, like we said, the USB-C, plug your phone in, and then your phone screen will appear on here. So this is someone's iPhone right here. You can see the iPhone home button.
Yeah.
And that will bring up all of your apps that are compatible with the car. So if I was to go on Spotify, it will bring up Spotify, what song is playing, artists, artwork.
Yeah,
everything.
yeah, sure.
And as we come to the Premium Plus, which is the highest possible trim level, we're then looking at things like heads-up displays. We've got optional multi-spoke wheels in black as opposed to silver, the 360 camera, and then memory seats as well. So for multiple drivers, it's nice to be able to actually have 3 different driver profiles. And when you get in the car, push a button, it will not only remember the seat position, but also the mirror position as well. So it's quite nice.
Do you know the heads-up display? If you wanted that, then how much should that cost then extra?
See, that's the only bad thing about Mercedes, is that I know with certain brands you can pick and choose certain items.
Yeah, sure.
Mercedes, you just have to go for the package. So whereas we were looking at the AMG line, which has a on-the-road price of around 75, including metallic paint, to go for the Premium Plus that has everything on there, you'd be looking at about 82. So it is sort of
it's quite a lot for difference, isn't it, just for that extra feature?
Yeah, it's a £7,000.
That's quite nice to have.
Definitely.
Would that have upwards display? Would that just have the speed, or would it have a sat nav as well?
You can customise it, so you can see there. So this person has chosen not only to have the traffic limit, but you've also got your speed and also directions. And you can fully customise that. So if I wanted to, I could have the lane keep assist there. I could have the radio station there. You can fully customise it.
Yeah. That's quite a nice feature, isn't it?
Once you get used to it and you've had it for previous cars, it's a nice thing to have.
So you'd only get that if you went for that premium one. How much is what's the difference between premium and the premium? Is like 4,000 or?
That is what you get if you go for the Premium Plus. You have to go.
Oh,
for the
right, okay.
Yeah. So those 2 items there, so memory seats and heads up. Premium Plus, we're looking at 82. And then if we jump down to the Premium, we've still got things like CarPlay, the 22-inch wheels, and also the sunroof. We'd be looking at around 79-ish.
79.
Yeah.
And how much is the one that I've selected? Is that 70?
75.
70. So it's not much really, is there?
It's not a huge difference, and especially in the terms of monthly payments as well. So if we were looking between the models, you're probably looking at an increase of about £50 to £60 per month between them.
Yeah, sure. Do you know these ones I mentioned? Like, can you put your SIM into the car as well? Is that can you get that feature?
They've got built-in SIMs essentially.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
you can access the internet for things like live traffic and stuff like that.
Oh, it's got built-in SIM.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So
yeah.
you wouldn't have to input like sat nav cards and SIM cards and things like that. It would just run off your phone.
Okay. That's it, really. There's nothing. Any other things that you should mention that I could benefit from, that sort of thing?
The only other thing that I'd recommend looking into is things like charging points. So Mercedes are partnered with BP Pulse, also known as PodPoint.
Yeah.
On average, including a surveying of your home and installation, they tend to be between £800 and £1,000. Now, there are companies out there that will do different types of charges, ranging from sort of £1,000 all the way up. I think the most expensive one I've seen is £4,000. It's all to do with the styling, the aesthetics of your home. And obviously, it's just on the outside of the home. But on average, charging points for BP, you're looking at 4 weeks as a wait time. For some companies, it can be as little as 3 days.
What one do you recommend, like BP one?
BP is the most practical, purely because it's Mercedes-Benz recommended. I will say if you were to just go out to BP and buy one, you'd be looking at about £1,400 to £1,500. But when you buy a Mercedes-Benz, we recommend you to BP. We send them your details.
You get a slight discount.
Exactly.
Yeah. And what's the is this the slow charge? What is that? What's the slow charge? Is it?
That is between 7 and 11 kilowatts. That'll do it in about 3 hours.
And then you can't. What if you can't get? Can you get 114? Is it?
They're rapid chargers, so you'll find them at most petrol stations. If you wanted to buy a rapid charger at home, I had a customer quoted about £10,000.
Quite a big difference, isn't that?
Because obviously, I mean, if you think of it practically, 3 hours, if you were to plug that in the evening overnight, you can have a full charge every single morning. It's only when you need that 10 to 90% on a long distance journey, stop at a petrol station, have a coffee, then you're good to go again.
Then these ones, will they tell you where the nearest charging station is? Yeah.
So it's all on the sat nav. It'll point out all the different chargers, and there's apps as well that we use. It's called the Zap app.
Zap, yeah.
And that will show you not only all of the local chargers, but how much they are.
Who's there? Is it free and that sort of thing? Yeah. All right.
What I'll do is once our internet's properly up and running, so at the minute I'm hotspotting.
Oh, is it down?
I'm still hotspotting off my phone. I'll run the quotations, I'll email them over, and I'll also send over this brochure as well that outlines all the different specs.
Yep, sure.
Let's just make sure I've got the correct email.
Is everyone coming down to an end now, or is that the weekly sales meeting?
Actually, we're in the process of being bought out at the moment.
Oh, really?
Mercedes no longer want to own dealerships, so we're owned by Mercedes themselves at the moment.
Oh, yeah.
Mercedes are franchising out, so it's just been purchased for about 4.3 billion.
4 point. Who buy it?
A company called Heading, based in Switzerland.
It's almost the equivalent of football club, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm a Chelsea fan as well. So
Oh, yeah, Chelsea, yeah. Yeah, you guys have been through a rough little time, haven't you?
Buying everyone that's on the market at the minute. We've got about 15 different attackers now, which is fun. Right, not even letting me in, so what I'll do, I'll make a no.
Who is it that you beat the other day? I can't remember. 1-0, just about got that win.
Crystal Palace, I think.
Oh, yeah, they're quite a tough team.
We've got Liverpool at the weekend.
Man City are really good, aren't they? Just the way they just come back
I watched
and
the Spurs game last
yeah.
night. 2-0 down.
They just
half-time.
no other team. I don't think no other team could do that.
It's the fact that they didn't make any substitutes. So you have the same team that has just lost a half at 2-0 to then go back on the pitch and annihilate them 4-2.
I think 2 of their goals were like weak anyway. They shouldn't have conceded those ones anyway. But
It's typical Spurs, though, isn't it? What's the best email for you, sir?
shall I give you my work email address? Is that right? Yeah. So it's SUKH .MANN at unilever.com.
Perfect. So when that's all up and running,
Yeah, sure.
I'll fire those over. And then yeah, we'll catch up from there because, like I said, they're constantly coming through. So whilst there's 28 today, there may be even more next week and more the week after that. So quite fortunate in that sense.
Do you reckon it's best times to buy it now or wait? It's not no point. It's not gonna. Nothing's gonna reduce, is it? No.
Especially with the EQ market, we are seeing discounts on things like the A classes that have 2,500 off at the moment. The EQs, they are so strong in the market at the moment that Mercedes-Benz, they're running a lower campaign. I think it's 7.9 APR as opposed to 10.9. But at the moment, there aren't any offers.
Is that what the APR is?
Yeah.
Everything's just gone up anyway, hasn't it? It's like
It's ridiculous. I think I've got a couple of friends that work over at Porsche in Reading. I think they're running 14% APR.
Oh
Porsches.
right, yeah.
It's just the way the world's going, sadly.
Okay, no, that sounds good. All right, perfect. Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
And yeah, I'll
Thanks.
send that over. If not this evening, it'll be tomorrow morning.
Yeah, sure. Perfect. You working tomorrow then?
Yeah, tomorrow and Sunday as well.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much.
Nice
Thank
to
you.
meet
Bye now.